Stop it. Stop whining. You do it. Do the show. Just do it. We're live, and that's all
Louis
that matters in the type of
Louis.
thing. This type of thing. Hello, good morning, and I'm live from Jackpot, Nevada. Hi, chat room. Welcome to the show. I'm not even worrying about titles this morning because I just want to get on the air and make sure that I can be heard and you can be heard, and yeah, heard
Yeah,
is the word. Hold on, I got to bring down this
yeah.
flag.
Seldom is heard a discouraging word.
That's right. I'm trying to get rid of your microphone without getting rid of you in the green screen.
Oh
It's a
yeah, it's not the yeah,
meow.
it's not the best screen.
Excellent.
Sometimes I get a little half moon of it.
Yeah, it does. It's all right. It looks like you're being attacked by space ghosts corn dog. That's all I'm saying. And hi everybody, hit the like. Let them know we're here. As foggy and frail as
That's a
the
great band
connection
name,
is.
Space Coast Corn Dog. Come
Yeah,
on.
yeah. What could be better? Hold on. I'll put this here so people can see it. Thank you. And we'll get our stuff up there, and then we're all right.
I saw an old episode of that the other day that was just kind of
We're
playing
rolling.
randomly on oh, and it was funny.
Well, welcome to the show, Johnny Million. How are you this fine Saturday after
I'm great.
the
Hell.
big wailing and gnashing of teeth? We are 1 week out from the debate, and it has gone off. I would say exactly as I said it would, which was there would be the freak out would be on kind of a delay over it would start to ramp up and then kind of lose its stride in people fighting over whether or not it's a viable path forward and blah blah, and then the post polls would come out and there would be and the surprising part, I have to admit, the surprising part was that right after Biden got better polling immediately after the debate, because nobody cared that he had a raspy voice. They were just listening to Trump stammering on. And, the one quote that I keep coming back to from the debate that Trump said, there were sort of two highlight moments. One was when Biden said we beat Medicare, when he meant we beat Big Pharma, right? And he was just trying to get it in
Right. Oh,
under
but
the
Fox
wire.
is running with that. When I go to the gym, that's all I see on the Fox
Yeah, we
News
beat Medicare.
ads. Are like,
Yeah.
we're going
And
to Medicare.
right. And
Be
Trump's
afraid,
response.
seniors.
Right. The Trump response was, "Yeah, you beat it to death." Well, the problem is that Republicans across the country, especially during COVID and stuff, were fighting Medicaid expansion and are against Medicare. There's obviously this video of Mike Lee talking about how they're going to get rid of Medicare and Medicaid, and then Social Security's next. Project 2025 is about repealing all of that stuff. They are very open about the fact that they want to get rid of any protective social programs. And so they're in the process of beating it to death. They want to, that's on the agenda. That's in the instruction book, right? Is in Project
Yeah, and the
2025
only
is
people that it's going to hurt are going to be voting for it.
that's right. Yeah, exactly. The upper boomer villager type Trump voter. Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
Biden's sort of verbal misstep, um, Trump obviously pounced on it and said, "Yeah, you beat it to death," but it literally made no sense. It had no, it wasn't germane to the conversation at all. Right? It wasn't like, boom, he got him. It actually just kind of called out the fact that in Project 2025 they intend on doing this. So it sort of backfired. It was just kind of like it was all he could come up with in the moment. You could tell like Trump was like he definitely leapt on the statement, but in a nonsensical way. You know what I mean? You, you
Right.
know, so that was the other one. And the other quote from Trump that really stood out to me was, "We had H2O." Now, I have been trying to figure out in the week or so since. I can figure out what Biden meant to say when he flubbed most of the things, right? I know you could tell that he basically misspoke or reverted something, which people do when they're, under pressure and speaking live. And ultimately, it's not going to affect how they govern. It's more like how off the cuff can they be about it in a high pressure situation, which again, a president never faces. That, nobody's going to say, launch the missiles towards Hawaii. I meant Russia, right? Nobody's going to. No, there's no flub where that has an impact, genuinely. But I still can't figure out what "we had H2O" meant when Trump said it. I really have. He was talking at one point about, I suppose, carbon dioxide or
Hmm.
methane, or I think clean water was maybe the zone, but "we had H2O" still is it's
Really?
I if anybody in the chat room can try and help me work through that one, because I like, it's the one thing where I could not, all the king's horses and all the king's men could not make sense of that man again. I could not figure out what he was saying. Now, on the other side of it, the the poll that came out, I think, in the last 24 hours, which is the um, has triggered a yet another round of Chris Hayes saying nobody knows anything. I think Molly Jong Fast said the exact same thing about it. Was the like it was essentially like Biden has had his best showing in the Ipsos poll since saying he was going to run again. In the week after everybody's asking him, during which everybody's asking him to exit the race. And this goes to 2 points that I think are fundamentally a reality in modern campaigning, and in, the difference between those of us that drink from the fire hose of news and people who, have lives and incorporate element of politics into their lives about 10 days before they vote. Is that, say what you will about Biden's overall performance in the debate, but ultimately it was eminently clippable in a positive sense for Biden. Even though, Fox will do loops of him, stammering or something, he's had episodes like that before because he has a stutter. And so most people
Right.
write it off. Most, viewers, who are seeing it on, Instagram Reels or TikTok or Facebook or any of that stuff, if you show yet another verbal flub from Biden on Fox News, the reality is they're going to go, yeah, he talks like that. But ultimately, look at the stock market, look at the jobs numbers, look at the, the jobs report that came out yesterday, 206,000 jobs. And everybody's like, it beat expectation, but it shows slowing. Like the tap dance in trying to, throw an anchor into the boat, that Biden has been bailing and trying to keep above water since the pandemic. It's becoming very, it's gone from covert to overt, and it's really obvious. So, everybody is asking, our chat says everybody's looking at their 401ks and going, well,
Right.
Trump, screwed the pooch on the pandemic, and there's no reason to believe he would be any better at another emergency of any sort. And I also think there is I don't know if you believe this, Johnny Million. Maybe you can tell me, but do you actually believe that Hamas wouldn't have attacked, or Russia wouldn't have attacked, if this had been Trump's second term? Really? Does
What a
anybody?
what a crazy thing to say, that they never would have done that if I were in there. Really?
That, well, first of all, they
Really?
were planning it, and by every measure, you were helping them. Getting rid of
Yeah.
the, even getting rid of the Iran deal allowed Iran more latitude, out of desperation, right? They were allowed to, they were allowed to sort of push the boundaries of what's allowed because they weren't within the confines of a deal anymore. So there's
Right.
a myriad of reasons why obviously this is garbage. But the one thing I want to talk about, after we come back from the break, and this will be where Hal quizzes Johnny Million on a small detail, that he probably doesn't know, and probably
uh,
in a kind and just world wouldn't need to know. Right? This
that's
is
very nice of
yeah,
him to say.
yeah.
You're
Um,
already you're like Trump already making excuses before the debate
that's right.
for
I'm working
me.
the ref in your own head. Right.
Yeah.
And it was, by the way, Bloomberg is reporting President Joe Biden registered his best showing yet in a Bloomberg News morning consult tracking poll of battleground states, even as voters offered withering appraisals of his debate performance amid panic within his party. If there weren't as many stories about Eek the debate in the news, it wouldn't be a factor at all, and his numbers would continue to climb as they will towards the election. The race will tighten as it did with Obama and Romney, as it did even with Bush Kerry. It will tighten towards the election, and more is coming out about Donald Trump. And I'll give you a bit of a hint, and maybe Johnny Million, you'll have a chance to look it up during the break.
Okay.
Doe 174. That's all I'm going to tell you. Doe, D
Go
O
like
E.
do de do de do de do de do.
No, as in Jane Doe or John Doe. Doe
Oh no, this is
174.
oh this is an
Oh yeah.
Epstein thing.
Oh yeah. Doe 174. We'll be back right after this. Yeah, exactly. It's the House Parks Radio program, Mega Worldwide, now with 100% more. Johnny Million. He's got a live stream,
I
Tuesdays
got
and
me to feed
Thursdays,
my cat during the break.
and he's going to feed his cat during the break instead of studying like I told him to. All right, we'll be back.
I just looked it up. I'm already done. Gotta go.
Mhm. Hi, chat room, and thanks for the super chat, Hal Vickery. Bless you so much. Please save me from the Democrats who want to dump President Biden. Consider it done, Hal Vickery. Thank you very much. I gotta say, I am. Does this pop up on here? There it is. Thank you so much for the super chat, and I will indeed. And you know who's really going to save you from it? The voters. There is no situation where anybody who was going to vote for Joe Biden beforehand, which was a number that is larger than the number of Republicans, um, you know, that are voting, period, in this. There is no situation where those people are going to swap their vote or drop out or not vote if Biden is the guy. None whatsoever. There is
Hey,
no chance. Hi, welcome back. Thanks for feeding your
do you
cat.
guys
You're a good
ever
man.
with your yeah? Do you guys with your cat? And I know this is universal.
Oh dear.
You if they're finicky at all about wet
Mm.
food, you're like, all right, she seems to like the one with the gravy. We'll get the gravy chunks next time we go to the store. And you load up on the ones with the gravy chunks, and then you put it down in front of her, like, here it is, here's your favorite. And she's like, yeah,
Yeah,
no
not some.
thanks.
Thank you for coming back.
What about the old stuff?
Yeah, I just gotten used to it.
Yeah.
So the unreported news, obviously, in the last 2 weeks, especially, was that right about the time Joe Biden got magical powers thanks to the immunity ruling under the Supreme Court that was somehow meant to benefit Donald
Yeah.
Trump, which, by the way, it could not possibly do for a couple of reasons. One is he was not president when he refused to give back the classified documents that he was aware that he had not declassified. So let's just all forget about the fact that somehow he's going to get immunity from prosecution for taking those documents in the first place, or that he can't magically, as those were not official acts, because if they were official acts, they would be registered as official acts. You wouldn't hide the fact that you had taken those documents, right? That's like saying somebody who's in charge of classified documents officially can walk across a room, so why can't they walk out a door? Why can't they walk to their car? Why can't they get in their car and drive to the airport? Why can't they take a plane? All these things are legal, and they legally can have those documents until they arrive in China, right? And then at that point, it's, who's to say when it becomes personal or business, right? It's absurd.
Yeah.
So I don't want anybody to worry about the fact that Donald Trump is somehow going to get away with the classified document stuff. He is not. He is on tape saying he knows they are not declassified. So can everybody just put that ridiculousness on the shelf? It's coming for him, and he knows it. That's why he's so desperate to be president again, because he thinks he can pardon himself from it because it's a federal charge. I'm telling you.
Right.
Secondly, there is increasingly two pieces of news that are going to dog Donald Trump. And one of them, obviously, being the classified document stuff, because that is the one area where he loses the most voters. Those Haley voters that went away, the primary reason they did isn't because he's a sexist pig, is an adjudicated rapist, or that he's actually a fake billionaire, or that he borrowed money from the Russians via Deutsche Bank, which is a giant money laundering scheme, or that he was buddies with any number of scumbags worldwide, or was mobbed up. And that's why in a city of steel buildings, he decided to build Trump Tower out of concrete, because the mob owned the concrete industry in Manhattan, and therefore he could curry favor with them as a protection racket after his buddy Rudy Giuliani, who was his personal attorney later, who has just been disbarred, after that guy helped broom the Italian mob so the Russians and the Chinese could move in. No, that doesn't bother them at all. That does not bother the Nikki Haley maggots at all. What bothers them is Jeffrey Epstein. No matter what they do, they are having a harder and harder time running from the fact that Donald Trump was hashtag Jeffrey Epstein's wingman for almost 3 decades. And the only reason they broke up as friends, as I have covered on my live stream several times, is not because there was a mythical story about, Jeffrey Epstein hitting on the daughter of a wealthy guy at Mar-a-Lago and therefore crossing some sort of imaginary moral line that Donald Trump has, where it's okay for him to pilfer the local high schools as long as he doesn't do it on my property where I can get in trouble and get his sloppy seconds later on without anybody knowing. He's drawing too much attention. It wasn't even that. It was that they were both bidding on the building, the property that Donald Trump later sold to that Russian oligarch for $90 million, far more than it was worth, and the dude bulldozed it. They were both fighting over that, and Epstein upped the bid so much that it cost Donald Trump an extra $10 million to get that property, and he never forgave Epstein for costing him $10 million. That was the reason. Now, on top of that, Jeffrey Epstein's brother has said that they stopped hanging out because Epstein said that Trump was a crook, and that he was mad, that Epstein was mad. They were equally pissed at each other about this, that he had sniped
Epstein
that piece of
says
property.
Trump's a crook, and Trump says Epstein likes him young. Let's listen to the words that they're saying.
Right. I will say Midas Touch has done magical work covering the look of the year 1991 pageant that Trump put on with the underage models that were, that he was having party on this boat, like this ferry in New York Harbor. And it's just nasty with these old men. It looked like they described it as, it looked like a middle school dance, except all the boys were, men in their 50s and 60s. Ugh.
Bro.
So in the released Epstein document. Oh, and what I was saying was the magical powers that the Supreme Court gave Joe Biden. It did not involve him releasing a bunch of documents all of a sudden and just doing, and it might. I wouldn't rule it out. And I got to say, if I was Joe Biden, I would be playing hardball right now. I would be dropping stuff that has been previously semi-classified about Donald Trump on the regular. You want to talk about scoops that reporters, friendlies would get. Oh my God, because I would consider him a national security threat, which he is. And I would go, you know what? This is as the president, thanks to the Supreme Court, I now have the ability to declassify stuff about this guy. We're not going to pursue him legally yet, but we'll wait for his own supporters to do it. But here it comes. Here comes the flood of info, because we have a ton of intel about this dude, and Bill Barr was able to hide some of it, but no more. right? There's a possibility. There's absolutely a possibility Biden could do that. He may or may not. I have no way of knowing if that would be in the scheme. I personally, knowing what I know and as a civilian about Donald Trump, wouldn't have any qualms about it whatsoever, especially the Epstein stuff. Now, Donald Trump in his Fox and Friends interview said he would not release the Epstein files because there's a lot of fake stuff in there and a lot of innocent people might be hurt by it. Uh-huh. Right.
Cool.
Now, yeah. So a judge, and the new trove of stuff on Epstein that came out in the last couple of weeks, though, did not come out because Joe Biden suddenly, the kid gloves came off and he decided the Supreme Court gave him the ability to do a document dump and just, extrajudicially send out accusatory, information about him. All of this stuff, all of it, all of the new documents that we now have about the Epstein case that and the sweetheart deal that Alex Acosta cut for Jeffrey Epstein, that basically gave him a key to the jail where he could continue to sexually assault minors the entire time he was serving his sentence. And Alex Acosta, for the record, if everybody remembers, was Trump's labor secretary. Trump made Alex Acosta, a former attorney for the Southern District of Florida, labor secretary. Based on what qualifications? What qualifications does any Southern District attorney have to be labor secretary? Any at all? As somebody explained to me why that isn't just a no-show deal, a job that they gave him. Good Lord.
Right.
By the way, you think the Republicans are concerned that the Department of Labor is run well? That it has a proper shepherd at the top and running it? Are you kidding me? If they could get rid of it, they would. So giving whoever they put in charge of it is going to be somebody that they're like, just here's the paycheck, phone it in. And if you can undermine it while you're there, that's a plus. Alex Acosta, the man who gave Jeffrey Epstein his sweetheart deal, was Donald Trump's labor secretary, a no-show job in the federal government as a thank you for making sure that more of this stuff didn't come to light. Now, who brought this stuff to light in the last couple of weeks? Was it Joe Biden and his Justice Department practicing lawfare against Donald Trump? No. It was Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis signed a bill that is an addendum to Florida's already extraordinary sunshine law, which gives us the Polk County Sheriff's regular, I don't know if it's somewhat between press conference and true crime podcast, where he comes out and says, here's the people we caught this week. This feller was caught with a kid in his trunk, and this one had 14 bags of cocaine in his locker at a high school where he worked part-time, like that guy. That Florida Sunshine Law gives us that, and all of the news stories that we hear about Florida man all come from the fact that Florida specifically has a sunshine law, that if somebody gets busted for something, specifically crimes of moral turpitude, they get exposed in the public. There's a public shaming aspect of it. Think of it as a virtual stockade, right? Where they used to, in towns, they would put you in the middle of the town, in a stockade, and everybody would see your crime.
Best summer of my life.
Yeah, that's true. But that's honestly, you liked the spankings and the fruit.
I can't think of a thing I would do differently.
Right. So in these documents that have come out, there are some horrifying details from some of the victims, specifically Katie Johnson, that are brutal reading. And again, this was a case brought, and then they pulled it in 2016 because of death threats. They all went into hiding, and it should come as no surprise because Donald Trump's followers will threaten death against anybody who goes against their child king. But on top of that, there are in a lot of these documents, and Donald Trump famously, recently on Fox and Friends said he would release the 9/11 files, he would release the JFK files, but he wouldn't. I don't know if I'd release the Epstein files because there's a lot of stuff in that can make
it sensitive.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there that maybe isn't real and da da da. And they cut that part out. They cut out the part
Huh.
where he hemmed and he hawed. They cut after he said, "Yeah, I think I would. I mean, I probably wouldn't." And then he even went back a second time and said no. Well, too late for
They
one.
cut that. How did you see it, Hal?
They he did it like they did a live fuller version of it on their website, and they cut it down for the
Oh,
other
I
part,
got you.
and then they pulled the website version, and people had already grabbed the clip.
Oh,
So
good, good.
yeah, so it's out there for anybody to see. And they were the original, like one of the victims, Virginia Giuffre, and who in her case against Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. A lot of the people involved in who she accused and who were, there was evidence of people, going to Little St. James. And again, I don't